refreshing flavour. I have some grapes, so instead of pills, I'm not popping pills anymore. I'm putting grapes in here with a little bit of water, the lid, splash, wash, and then put in a container to munch. And it's a refreshing flavour. Repeat. So in this video, I'll be making a subtle hint. People may think it's a subtle bully. So as they had intoxicated me with horrible things, I believe God has intoxicated me with pleasant things that I wasn't expecting. And to balance out the horror, there is Creator God who is there to support people who are overwhelmed with sickness, sorrow, and suffering. And this is the underbelly of everything that goes wrong in the world. So it's an exclusive blend or mixture of my approaching birthday. It has always been a curse, similar to Prophet Jeremiah, who in the Holy Torah had said, "Cursed be my birthday." The day I was born, he cursed his own birthday for terrible things. As a man of suffering, or as a woman of suffering, Jesus' mother suffered a lot when she knew that her son was crucified, and there's lots of biblical accounts of documents. So it's more than a story of suffering injustice, including Ruth. Her entire nation, Israel, was threatened of extermination and total genocide. And so, from her perspective, she had to make herself the most appealing and attractive to a man. And for me, it's the opposite of that, because I'm looking at the spiritual first before the physical. So I have swapped places with the man ego, because we have too much of man in the world, a dominated society where the devil has had more than 2,000 years of practice of the man dominating the gender woman, so they're no longer equals. Whereas 2,000 years ago in our history, the role of men and women were as important and were as equal as each other of value and worth. So it's blinding to, it's sort of like in the modern times, similar to pasteurized milk, where it has been filtered so much that what is normal is now called abnormal, and what is abnormal is called normal in modern civilization. So this is not the best quality when it's away from nature, but everything modern is related to perfection, such as removing pips from melons, and anything that's supposed to be smooth and not lumpy and not bumpy is supposed to be closer to perfection, but it isn't, because it's further away from nature. It has been modified according to the perfectionist to the best quality, and they have concentrated on this best quality for modernization. So as a woman in modern society, I'm dressed as a feminine, not feminist, with a long dress. However, I don't agree with feminist women or feminine women, because they normally get married or have sex for ego, not for love. So I have prayed about this as a Christian woman, and looking at gradually revealing the secret with my birthday on its way. And God has revealed to me, so it's no secret, what it is that it's supposed to happen for Christian women to be blessed, compared to what the society thinks, modern society, as to what originality is. So I've looked at both what society thinks and what I think is best for me. And so the closest thing to my hand is a journal to answering these questions. Particularly complicated, not simple, as the teachers and society says something else in opposition to what I'm saying. I'm just going to pause the video for a minute. So I'm back. I enjoyed some grapes. It's interesting to ask the question number one. I have been destroyed. So the answer, solution to the problem: do I need a man who can help me to destroy? And what is God's way to destroy? Because God's holy war is different from the way the world does war, through actual physical weapons, whereas God uses the spiritual weapons first. So the answer to that question, I'm going to ask for a revelation on or just after my birthday, which is the 15th of September. That's question main number one. Do I want to be similar to a bacteria, or something similar to a builder in the shared with the animal kingdom, nature and the creation? What it is that I want to be. Do I want to be as a thorn for God against those who have spiked me? Putting it in other words. Question number two is the effective way to recover my health as a hospital patient, to avoid further insults, discrimination, so that I'm less suffering with fatigue from being too weak, physically fragile, not having strength, and fatigue for not sleeping enough, and physical fat, obesity, for not being able to exercise enough. So that would be question number two. Who or what type of man will help me recover from this quickly? Question number three. Who, physical man, is mentally strong enough to overcome suicide, self-harm, and being able to separate from normality? So in a type of middle of no man's land, because my expectation is for him to live with me for at least 3 months before I move in with him. 3 to 6 months, depending on practicing our virtues, compatibility in respecting one another. If that isn't good enough, then living together in my place, which is a ghetto, would increase from 3 to 6 months. It depends on how strong he is mentally to overcome anxiety, to overcome being physically attacked, living in a ghetto, overcome feeling suicidal, removal of his ego in a disgusting ghetto. So if he can do that, because hostility in a hostile environment is infectious. Question number 4. Who or what is my priority? What type of a man is my priority regarding these 5 to 10 questions that will be revealed? The answers will be revealed. I'm going to leave my commentary blank until September the 15th, and I'll complete it with my decision what or who in God's guidance is best. So obviously I don't want a type of a father figure, because God is my Father in heaven for all the orphans and fatherless. So they could scream at me in question number 4 or 5. I would want to have a type of a man who can prove to my earthly father that I am someone that he has lost, and he will never compensate me or any abuser in my past for the wrong that they have done. And this condemnation will hold and not let go. God says, whatever you loose in heaven and on earth will be loosed on earth, vice versa. Whatever you forgive will be forgiven, whatever you unforgive. That's question number 3 or 4, something like that. I've lost count. But between question 3 to 10, approximately. Moving to the other half of the question, from 5 to 10, 3 to 10. 3 main ones anyway. What are the 3 main characteristics I'm looking for in a man to help me to heal and to allow me the spiritual, emotional support and the practical support of having transport, where I'm not discriminated against, where I feel protected and safe, and not looked at by the enemy, where I can be hidden while I'm travelling to and fro for counselling therapy, for swimming therapy, or any other therapy, particularly at home, or anyone associated to me socially. So he's not a father figure. He's more of a type of a bodyguard. Would that be my priority? And I wouldn't have to take the dog for a walk. That would be his job, because it's really a man's thing. The dog is the man's best friend. Moving on to the other half, as I said I would. Looking at the substitute baby, because I've lost a baby, which is worse than miscarriage. I've never had a miscarriage, but having a child live with me for 10 years and fighting for her through family law courts is very sensitive. And I need a substantial, either he would have children or I would want to have children or animals, lots of animals to take care of. Not inside the house, it would be in a shed or outside or a farm. So that would be the other half. How could we support effectively anybody that wants to recover from disease of COVID-19? Because it has been long-lasting now, and it's going to be long-lasting, similar to AIDS, HIV, or any other severe disease, where people have run out of business or have lost their jobs and families as a result. To support these type of people and find a community that would support these type of people, and that is particularly associated to a Christian foundation, either that we find or that we make ourselves. They're like my children too, because we're in the family of God. And this note I have made here. I've written some notes in my book, my diary. The focus on recovering from any destruction, such as divorce, loss of family members, death, disaster, famine, and disease. Focusing on God's name, because there's many meanings, even though no one knows how to pronounce the actual name of God, is YHWH, initial. My name initial is HN. N for November, or H. So the initial of God, Y, starts with Y, and in many parts of former Yugoslavia, not many, all parts of what was Yugoslavia, the translation for saying I am is Ja sam. And so Yaya means egg. Ja sam means I am. I am egg. No. So it's reassuring to overcome not only mental sickness such as anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, but severe physical sickness, impairment, disability, pain, physical pain, or possibly giving birth to a still baby, a dead baby. It's terrible. People have died as a result of giving birth. So this would be our effort to search for the community. So would that be the priority to our relationship? I like that idea very much because I've never been part of a community. I've always been alone, not by my own error or fault. Never been accepted. So I had said I'd like that choice, but I haven't. I dream about it, I fantasize about it, but I haven't actually made my decision that would be the priority. And it depends who it is. It's my choice also versus his choice. So it's not a partial relationship, one-sided relationship. So I'm responding, I'm being proactive as to what is compatible to me. Also, would I want my partner for life, husband, lover, to prioritize me having a baby after I have lost a lot of weight? By then it may be too late because of my age. And everything about his personality would be a type of a teacher, his advice, his authority and control, his order, his dominance. Would that be shared, or would we be a teamwork? I've always wanted a teamwork, but if it is the fact that he's already established in his career, it makes sense that he would dominate as a type of a teacher to enable me to financially support me and my own career and my own resources to have a baby again, to be pregnant again, because children are very expensive. And there's also a risk assessment done for my mental health of long-term service use of hospital mental health during my divorce and domestic abuse, backdated to 2008 and 2007. It's now 2023, so it was a long time ago. And God is forgiving, and God knows that I haven't loved money more than God, that I am not a gold digger. But of course, if there is a rich man who would help me possibly find a lawsuit to take mental health services to court and sue them so that I could be a successful mum without any interference, without decreasing and deteriorating my physical or mental health for somebody else's benefit, and the first fruits of my labour for someone else to take advantage. And to carefully look at up-to-date references, how to protect us from children's social services and the government that is always intrusive and invasive too much, and how to make a royal stop to that. So obviously, do I want a rich man to remove that risk? Because I need to reduce that threat if I'm going to be a mother again, to say that I don't have, I'm inadequate, I'm not good enough to be a mum. They may say it infrequently or they may say it frequently. It is still a threat to bully me and mismanage my mothering skill, because being a mother is my main skill, my main job. And being a mum is not only about sympathy. It's a bit of everything. It's all the careers, all the jobs in the world. Never been driving a car, so obviously if he's financially stable and established, he can help me achieve all of these things and make a warning to the court against what they have destroyed. If we don't win the case in regards to parental responsibility for my daughter, who is now 18 years old, we are still there to warn the case in the process of having a new family and new children in connection to his children or my children that are not yet born. So that's another question. Is it going to be a rich man that's my priority? Or is it a bit of everything to bless me thoroughly so that I could be a builder and a destroyer at the same time? That sounds impossible. But to have a long-term relationship looks at all these questions, and I'm better prepared then, not as a teaser, but I'm better prepared that when I do have joined a dating agency, the impact of prolonging mystery, instead to have a normal type of desire for a long-term committed relationship, and the best impact on finding solutions to the major problems in advance, before becoming too serious, before engaging and getting married. So it's a fight. It's there is a spiritual warfare. Also there's also preparation for physical fights. Maybe have a bulletproof clothing and him owning a weapon from the terrorists. Obviously, he has to be a type of in a privileged position to own a weapon. So I'm coming to the 10 points I have said, to be reasonable versus the unreasonable. I certainly don't want to be a sex slave, a sex-side woman, or be with anybody I don't want to demasculinate him. I don't want to say that it doesn't matter how I look like. I want to look my best. But in order to look my best, I have to have those resources. I have to have a reliable, responsible, and reasonable relationship. And when a government blocks me from doing that, it's an enemy. When a government allows me from doing that, it's not a friend, but it is someone that is going to be like a supervisor to help me to forget the horrors of unfair and an unequal society. All my dysfunctional families have done is shrug their shoulders and said, so what? Translated in Serbo-Croatian, ako, A-K-O. And so I have not demasculinated any man. I have not forgotten anything in acknowledging who is in control, who is my bully, and but I do suffer from short-term memory loss. That's why I write everything down. I don't do things compulsively or addictively, but it is urgent because I have very little time and we don't live forever. I may have a second life if God gives me a second life, as Prophet Elijah that came back into John the Baptist through reincarnation. But we don't really need the rat race. I've already won the race and I'm in people's faces, because once I'm saved in Jesus Christ, I'm always saved. Jesus and God Almighty said, I will never leave you, and said, I will never abandon you. Even though your father and mother have left and abandoned you, I won't. God said that to King David. God also said that in the New Testament, never will I leave you. Never will I forsake you. And the love of God through the Holy Spirit is deeper and bigger than any problem. There's nothing that can separate me from the love of Jesus. So once saved, always saved. So as for the blonde bimbo and the bitch and bastard Brexit, I want to find a way to dispossess, and I've already found ways of reclaiming what they've stolen, number one, and making and defaming them, discrediting them, number two. I've already found Bible references to say that they have said that I was a fat adulterer, when in fact they are the ones who are the fat adulterers, the thinnest and the skinniest who call themselves fit. So it is a fight, it's a royal fight against the fat and the thin. They call themselves fit. My Bible says that they are fit for nothing. They're useless. But it depends on what season we're at. So every season, maybe every 10 years or so, God's timing, that changes around. But I'm not proud of the fact that I'm fat, but I know that my fatness has helped me to survive and has protected me from disease, from trauma and all other types of problems. I don't, in the end, ignore the fact that fat can be bad for my heart. I don't have diabetes or any oil in my blood, high cholesterol. My bloods are normal. As I eat healthy and I eat in moderation, it's not my fault that I couldn't walk for 5 years. I only just started walking again. So very short distances. So that's how I've striked them on their hippopotamus's mouth, big mouth. I've striked them. If they're going to be a hippopotamus, I can be a hippopotamus too. If they're a rainbow, I can be a rainbow too. If they're a rhinoceros or Tyrannosaurus Rex, T-Rex, I can be one too. But I could also be the opposite of what they are. I could be the same as what they are. I could be the opposite of what they are. If I had a choice, I would be the opposite of what my enemies are, not the same. So hallelujah, praise be to God. So that's how I see the light. And I pray to Jesus to help those who are spiritually blind and spiritually blind. I help the people who are dumb and unable to talk, to help them to talk, to hear the voice of Jesus audibly, and to hear the voice of Jesus in the truth in their own hearts and minds. I pray for people on the third point who have no friends. It's hard to find friends even if you are popular and influential, or influential, which is devilish. Devils are normally bad influences. And the devil's work is already done. It's finished. Jesus cried on the cross, devil, you're finished. Regardless of whether you're surrounded in a group of people or you're a loner. It's hard to find friends. So of course I pray on the third point that there's lots of friends to be made. I don't give up. I haven't come this far for nothing. To guide and support people with a caring hand rather than ignorant, who are misguiding you and making you go in a circle with too much criticism, too much insults, comparing too much with unfair competition and challenges. So we're looking for companions that will guide each other with a fair hand and a clean hand, to come clean. And point 4, hygienically, with sanitation. And to also pray on the 4th point that there is a sin that can never be cleansed by soap, or drama. We need to have God to cleanse us from our sin. On point 5, I pray to God for holy true witnesses, because I'm sick and tired of untrue witnesses. And point 6, I'm tired and sick and tired of witches and wizards who are sinners and criminals, getting the honour they don't deserve and forcing me to have the dishonour that I don't deserve. And point 7, so I've been praying on discrimination, that we all know is racism, but we can't call it racism, so we can't say what it is. We say discrimination. This is the realization of the reality of unholy war. And because I'm a migrant living in England, that's another problem. And the last point, rubbish. That means being rejected, disowned, dismembered, disserviced, and all the negative D's in the dictionary. I pray for everybody who doesn't have the legal representation, so that there are a negative D in a dictionary. I'm Maya Maria, and my new name is Mima. And I close this video. It is early August 2023.